let's get into today's lesson. Boomerang. That's the image that's on your screen, or I hope that you see it. A boomerang is a bent or angular throwing club, typically flat on one side and rounded on the other, so that when it's thrown, it soars and it curves in flight especially, and it's designed to return near or to the thrower. It goes and returns near its point of origin. Now, this definition somewhat describes the family that we're going to be talking about today as we begin this series. Ruth, a woman worth remembering through Naomi's eyes. We're going to begin by reading Ruth 1 through 5. I'll display that. Now it came about in the days when the judges governed, there was a famine in the land, and a man of Bethlehem in Judah went to reside in the land of Moab with his wife and 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi. And the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem in Judah. So they entered the land of Moab and remained there. Then Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They took for themselves Moabite women as wives. The name of one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they lived there about 10 years. Then Mahlon and Chilion also died, and the woman was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Our story opens, now it came about in the days when the judges governed that there was a famine in the land. Judges? I'm thinking, if I'm reading this Bible as a contemporary person, what judges? Judge Judy? Judge Mathis? Judge Steve Harvey? No. The judges referred to here didn't quite make TV. So remember, for a clear, accurate, relevant, and edifying understanding of a biblical account, it's important to understand the context of what you're reading about. The judges referred to here refers to those whom Yahweh raised up after Joshua died to deliver Israel when they got into trouble from the folks that they didn't drive out of the land. Some of those judges that are being referred to are Deborah, female judge, Gideon and his trumpet, and then there's Samson. Judges 21:25, which is the last line of the book of Judges, reads, "In those days, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes." In general, the leaders, the judges, weren't leading the people toward but away from Yahweh. The result was either enslavement by neighboring nations or, as in this case, famine. A famine is basically when no substantial or sustainable amount of food grows to support life. It's like in the early days of the COVID lockdown. You might go to the store for toilet paper only to find empty shelves, and the milk has not been replenished, and no disinfecting products like bleach. And this one thought plays in your head over and over and over again. What us gonna do? We're not sure how long he waited, but Elimelech took his wife and 2 sons, and they moved away. They were leaving Bethlehem. Bethlehem's name means the house of bread. And they were leaving the house of bread because there was no more bread at this time. They moved to the not-so-friendly place called Moab, at least not so friendly to Hebrews. In case you've forgotten, the people of Moab began with the first child born to Lot and his daughter. That's a story a lot of folks won't let you forget. I also find that the names of the people in our main story quite insightful. I want to mention something I just read recently. It reads, words in Hebrew often have specific images connected to them, like those that we're reading the names here. Each word conveys emotion and experience, not just information. So what we have, Elimelech, his name means God is my king. Naomi, her name means pleasing. Mahlon, Well, his name means sickness, and Kilion's name means wasting. The parents have reasonably strong names. Their children sound like they didn't have a chance from the beginning. Well, as we continue on, sadly, Elimelech dies, leaving Naomi a widow and her sons fatherless in this strange land of Moab. Well, the sons decide, after they've been there about 10 years, to get married. Oh, wrong one. They decide to get married. And get that out of your way. And so one of them decides to marry a woman by the name of Orpah. The other one marries a woman by the name of Ruth. They are both Moabite women. But after 10 years, I can just see that Orpah sees that Mahlon and Kilion also die, leaving Orpah and Ruth as widows. And I'm sure this left Naomi with a broken heart. Let's read on. And I'll abbreviate some of the portions as we pick up with verse 6. Then she, speaking of Naomi, arose with her daughters-in-law to return from the land of Moab, because she had heard in the land of Moab that Yahweh had visited his people by giving them food. So she departed from the place where she was, and her two daughters-in-law with her. And they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. But Naomi said to them, "Go, return each of you to your mother's house. May Yahweh deal kindly with you as you have dealt with the dead and with me." However, they said, "No, we're going with you to your people." But Naomi said, "Why should you go with me?" Abbreviating, no more sons in this womb, ladies. No, my daughters, it's much more bitter for me than for you, because the hand of Yahweh has come out against me. You see, Ruth is dealing with the losses over the last 10 years or so. She lost her home in Bethlehem. She lost her friends. She moved to Moab. Then she lost her husband. She did gain 2 daughters by marriage, but she lost both sons in death. She's a broken and becoming bitter woman. So much so, she feels Yahweh is against her. But now we get to a passage that contains a very important statement many of us may have heard over the years. Verse 14, and they raised their voices and wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. Naomi says, "Behold, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. Go home. Just go home. I have nothing else for you." Verse 16, Ruth says, "Do not plead with me to leave you or to turn back from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you sleep, I will sleep. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. And where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May Yahweh do so to me, and worse, if anything but death separates me from you." When Naomi saw that Ruth was pretty determined to go with her, she stopped talking about it. Well, conversation's over here. Let's get going. In the passage, it mentions that Ruth clung to Naomi. The word used here means not only to hold on tightly, but to overtake in an overwhelming sense. As a result, Naomi got the point. Ruth ain't going nowhere. So together they went on to Bethlehem. Once they arrived in the city, it was stirred up because of them. Her old friends asked, is this Naomi? But her response was from a broken person. "Do not call me Naomi. Call me Mara," which means bitter. "For the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went away full, but Yahweh has brought me back empty. Why do you call me Naomi, which is pleasing, since Yahweh has testified against me and the Almighty has afflicted me?" With this, Naomi sort of sums up today's lesson for us. The final line in chapter 1 tells us Naomi and Ruth returned from Moab to Bethlehem. Boomerang for Naomi. But it mentions they returned during the beginning of barley harvest. We'll see the significance of this when our series continues. Shalom.